I've been involved in, and I've written a book, and I've been involved in other books. But anything that I have the ability of doing with my wife, especially that having the ability of creating something special, regardless what it is, right? It didn't have to be a book. It could have been anything. Yeah. But the fact that we did it together, and believe me, there were some trials. There were some times where we're like, oh, I don't like what you know, as we put the chapters together, there was disagreements, but we were able to come together and like, oh, let's put this together. Yeah. And, you know, between our two personalities, Shawn is the one that tends to be more straight-laced and stringent, where I'm the one that is a little bit more free-flowing, right?
And I can really see this book be read many, many years from now. You see, one of the things that we also do here in our project is that we are really very intentional about the stories that we are telling. And we do this with the belief that our work is going to outlive us. We are not going to consume everything. In fact, we are going to leave whatever we have done as a contribution to humanity. So that many years after we have gone, some people are going to read, they're going to ask, who were these people?
You just have to simply learn from each other. You have to find the balance. When Stormie says, yeah, we talk all day, and we say, yes, we lay down the law, and it's exactly how we feel. Maybe that is a way that a man needs to feel like a man, the head of the household. But I can tell you this, when you do have a loving husband and a loving relationship, as soon as any wife walks into a room, the man's response is, anything you want, dear. What do you want? Anything you want, let me do it. I am the loving wife and entrepreneurial, and we're located here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And my dear husband came home one day with the idea of this very famous book now. And if you can imagine my original reaction when he said, baby, I have an idea for a book that we'll write together. No, I have an idea for my next book. And he said it. He said the name. Can you imagine the name? And he said, I have my idea. It's the 21 laws to keep your woman in check. So if you can imagine my initial reaction. But then he went on to explain the premise of the book, and what he wanted to do was write these tales from the perspective of an exaggerated alpha male, and then to have for the message to stay clear that that's not really how relationships are done. Really, outside of adding chapters, the only thing that I did with this idea was just look at it and learn. I actually learned a lot because there was a different perspective that, you know what, we can just chill.
Yeah, what I wanted to bring to the table, I think about when I'm together with my buddies, right? And maybe you can imagine this. Maybe the other guys that are listening to this can imagine when we're together with our buddies. And what I mean, guys together with other guys, we start mentioning how we're the king of our castle and how we keep our women in check and all these other conversations that we talk about.
You say we keep your woman in check?
Yeah. Until she's around, then the tune changes. So I thought this is the perfect title for a book, because in reality, it's been my experience that maybe I think I'm smart and I'm running my path, but in most cases, she's 10 steps ahead of me, right? And that's the premise that we brought together in the book. We brought together this playful banter where I get to lay out my laws with the certainty of a general leading an army, but then Shawn adds a counter to each one of my laws that really brings the reality to a relationship. So what we've been able to do is memorialize some of our experiences within the pages of the book in a fun and playful manner, which also allows couples to take some of the topics that are maybe a little annoying, but make light of them and have fun with them. So it's really designed to be a couple's book. It's really written more for females than it is for guys. But with the title like 21 Laws to Keep Your Woman in Check, we ruffled some feathers until they dove into the content and like, oh, okay, I get it. That's pretty clever.
Anyway, the conversation is really very interesting because since you and your wife, you are both here in the conversation, it's going to be a little lighter for me. Otherwise, it would have been a little bit challenging. How do we take this conversation on? How much are we going to say without maybe offending the women? And how are we even going to table this conversation without maybe getting somebody uncomfortable on that? But anyway, since both of you are there, it's fine. Now, you said something where the idea was coming from. I think you were with guys, and so you will usually hear something. How do you put your woman in check? Something like that, no? That could be really an interesting conversation. But let me flip it around like this. Shawn, have you had such a conversation? How do we put men on check? Something like that. Tell me.
Well, it's an interesting thing. There's women like to say, well, you have to train your man. That's our locker room talk. And we know that's not true. We know that you don't train your man. We know that it is about communication, but it's an interesting thing. What all of this means is you just have to simply learn from each other. You have to find the balance. When Stormie says, yeah, we talk all day, and we say, yes, we lay down the law, and it's exactly how we feel. Maybe that is a way that a man needs to feel like a man, the head of the household. But I can tell you this, when you do have a loving husband and a loving relationship, as soon as any wife walk into the room, the man's response is, anything you want, dear. What do you want? Anything you want, let me do it. But around the guys, I guess that's you just want to feel strong. And it's okay. Let them, it's like, bless your heart.
That's good. That's good. I love that. I love that. All right. Stormie, did I pronounce the name correctly?
You sure did.
All right. Cool. Now, honestly, tell me, when you have the title, the book is written, now you share with friends, what did they tell you? I'm asking the opinion of the people around you. What did they tell you about this book?
So fortunately, the people around me, they know my personality. And my personality is this fun jokester for those that really know me. So they're like, okay, I expected a title like that from you, Stormie. But those that don't know me and those that think that thought they knew me, right? So I want to share a scenario that I just have to share, which I think is funny. And it involves my wife's mom. So her mom was visiting and she loves me. I love her. We get along.
My mom loves Stormie.
Right? We have one of these incredible mother-in-law, son-in-law. I don't even consider it mother-in-law, right? She's my mom. I'm her son. But then one day she's sitting at the table and I'm like, Mom, I've got this. I just finished my third book. I think you're going to be super excited. And she's like, okay, son, what's the title? Tell me about the book. I'm like, it's the 21 Laws to Keep Your Woman in Check. She went from a smile to complete visceral upset. She turned away from me. She really did this. She turned away and like, I'm going to kill this guy, right? Because he's talking about my daughter. He's going to do what? So I'm like, okay, let me speak quickly before she jumps over the table and does a number on me, right? So I explained to her, and the premise of the book is this, which is the part that we had a lot of fun with. In the introduction of the book, I explained with the confidence, as I stated, the confidence of a general leading his men to charge. The introduction, I'm like, these are the laws and you have to live by them. I'm so confident in these laws that I gave them to my wife to edit the book for me. And I don't need to look at them again. I'm the alpha. I'm the king. My word is final. I play that role. But then when Shawn gets the book, what she expresses in her chapters is that, hey, after I saw these crazy laws that my crazy husband has written, I decided to add context of my own. So after each one of my laws, she snuck in her own chapters, which really gives the counterpoint. But it's funny, going back to your original question, because of the visceral response, especially from females, as I share the title of the book, I've gotten a lot of upset, angry faces,
or they laugh.
or they laugh
Yeah.
because they know me. Or we've had scenarios where the wife and husband are sitting together, and I share the title of the book. She's upset. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, I don't know how to respond to this. This guy put me in this position. I don't know what to do in the scenario until the humor comes out. And that's really what it's designed to do. If we can get your emotions up here and then turn it around, it's one of those things that really makes the topic engaging, insightful, and allows people to gain so much more from just an ordinary book.
And I want to share something too that we get from guys. Don't want to touch it because guys are like, I don't know how to react. But we also have had some guys who have said, well, I am the alpha male. And the interesting part about that is we've sat with the husband and the wife, and we realize, wow, they're just like the characters, because they have this self-proclaimed dominance, but then speaking with the wife, she's like, yeah, that's fine. Let's let him lead. We want strong men. We're strong women, we want strong men. But we also know that we have to let them enjoy themselves and their self-proclamations. But at the end of the day, we take care of 20,000 things, and we get the psychology. Men are, you have a focus, you have your strength, and we as a partnership, we have to help nurture and help support that. We've also had it where we've told, Stormie has told the title to guys and couples, and the guys have tried to change the title to make the situation a little bit lighter with their wife. They're like, no, Stormie, it's 21 laws to keep your woman together. They don't want to accept in check.
Thank you so much for that. I think those reactions, they are important, no? All right. You see, I do documentary on a number of occasions when I've gone to present the documentary. Then, of course, after the documentary, usually people always then start talking. And so on some occasion, I've always said that I feel better when people are talking, because that is what I do as an artist, no? Because if I produce a film or a documentary film, in this case, I show it to you, you listen to it, then you just go away, you don't say anything. That is a bad documentary. That is a bad film. Because what I intend to happen is that at the end of the day, I stir up conversation. Then in the process of that conversation, we sort of get to find a solution to the problem or to whatever is it that we want to happen. So I think this book can actually provoke a conversation, which is a good thing for you as a writer.
It's so good. And let me ask you, did you have a chance to glance at any of the chapters or any of the chapter titles or read any of it?
Yeah. Then, of course, I've also been able to go around with it. I find it really interesting. Then, of course, I've gone also to the Amazon page, and I really find it very interesting, to be really honest with you. That is why you see I'm laughing. Okay, I usually laugh when I have guests here, depending, of course, on the conversation. You really do a good job there. So I really want to congratulate both of you.
Thank you. Did you happen to have like a chapter or a phrase or anything that you found relatable, like anything that connected with you and your relationship?
Attention to the humor. That's actually the first question I said I'm going to ask you, because now I'm at home. This day we do most of our studios at home. Okay, it's also evening, so my wife is sort of thereby also hearing what I'm talking about here. Which means this is a family conversation. You are there with your husband, and I'm here with my wife sometimes. This is a conversation that we can actually talk about, in that, how do you make relationship work? How do you make family work? Because I know that really buried in this story is how to make the relationship work at the end of the day. So I was listening to what your husband was saying just now, that he went to talk to your mother about the work that he is doing. And I think what came out there at the end of the day is, how do we make this thing work for everybody? So this is what I found really in there. This intention of try to make the thing a little bit lighter instead of maybe being too serious. Because when it is lighter now, then it can become easy. It becomes easy going for everybody. So that is one key strategy that I found in the book. So, but I would like to ask there, Where is that evil coming from? That humor, that intentionality of making it lighter, making the conversation lighter. Because if we take the humor, those lightness out of it, this can become a very hard book.
Absolutely, definitely, Eddie,
I
because I
want
know
to
you're
start
going to
with
add.
this one because this is the part that Stormie really owns. But I want to start it from a female perspective and from us. We just celebrated our 1 year anniversary, marriage anniversary, and I am Stormie's second wife. This is my first marriage, and I got married at an older age. I'm 52 years old, and I've been in business and in charge of my world, my space, my life, all of my time. And so when you say, how do you make the relationship work? That has been a challenge because, yes, there's a certain amount of dominance and there's a certain amount of control that I had to choose to eliminate because it's a partnership. So, in essence, the book helped me as a very strong woman to, like you said, not take something so serious. In my world, in my business world, I am the general. And I can lead like an army. And then you look back and you think, these are small things, these are nuances. Everything doesn't have to go exactly the way we might map it out on a document and how we outline it out. So how do you make it work is exactly what you said. You stop. You don't take things so seriously and you have fun with it. Okay.
Yeah, and when you brought up, the question, where did the humor come from? Oddly enough, I have to give credit to my mom, right? People are amazed. My mom's 84 years old, and we joke, even when it comes to hard topics, because that allows us to get through the hard topics together. So it's been not necessarily a conscious technique, but it's just one of those things that allows us to have these tougher conversations where they're a lot lighter and they seem to be significantly more valuable. So I've got to thank my mom, in reference to that. And then when it comes to our relationship with Shawn and I, we've looked at the small things that that I would do, characteristics that may be a little irritating that over time could cause a problem, right? Or vice versa. And having the ability of making light of those, putting those into chapters, and realizing as we started sharing some of those topics and conversations with various friends and family that they were dealing with the same thing. They just never had opportunity to talk about it. They never thought about it. They just let it build up, then eventually it explodes. And that's when we said, you know what? We need to turn this into a book where we can help others. Because like I said, the book's not about, as we said, the book's not about dominance. It's not about submission. It's really about partnership. It's about the unique perspectives that each of us get to bring to make, individually, what we create together is so much more valuable if we're doing it as a partner, not dominance, not submission. And, like I said, we took a huge risk on the title of the book because we wanted to bring that type of thing to light. There isn't 21 laws to keep your woman in check. It's really 21 laws to have a great relationship by shining a light on various elements. And we've already gotten feedback from people that have looked at this and they've come up with some of their own laws where they were able to bring light to it and humor to it and have conversations and realize that these things just aren't that serious. There's too many other bigger problems in the world than these types of scenarios.
Like you were saying, Stormie, there are a lot of challenges that we are facing in our day-to-day life. Life will become very boring and very challenging and very difficult to go day by day. But if we have something to laugh about sometime, it's good for us. It's good.
There were studies that I read years ago about the health benefits of laughter and even for your metabolism and how many calories you burn just from laughing. So that's such a good point and such a good reminder of laughter. And I think, like you said before, there's these small things. We looked at, kind of like the divorce rate and then how people are not getting married or not getting to the point where they stay together long enough. And it's been because of the smallest things that we might let build up. And some of these things, these chapters, were not us. They weren't from our relationship. They were from from input and from research that we found these small nuances in other relationships. Like something as small as, sometimes men do not put the toilet seat down. And something as small as that can build up in the relationship, and it could trigger such an uncomfortable position that you guys might not even know that it's built up, and the woman is mad about that, and something else can happen and things just blow up bigger than what they are. And it's like, well, what happened? And it had nothing to do with that situation. It was maybe because of the toilet seat.
I was actually leaning towards that because I was going to ask, how did you gather the information? Because I know a work like this, as an artist now, you are painting a picture for the people. And this picture is not entirely about you. So I have sort of come to the understanding that you have done your own research. Tell me, what did you concentrate on in this research? What were the things that you really were looking for to craft this story?
Yeah, we were looking for relatable experiences. So as Shawn, started down that path, some of the chapters, we just made it about us. Well, everything wouldn't have been relatable. For instance, we have a chapter in there as it relates to the do-it-yourself guru, and that's a person who starts a lot of projects but never finishes them, right? And that's one of those things. However, I'm the guy that loves to start projects, and I will finish them, right? But however, that's not relatable. That's not the experience that most. That's not the experience of most. And it's not that funny, right? What's funny about a guy starting a project and finish it? Nothing. So we wanted to take the relatable experiences of the guy who starts the projects and never finishes them, right? Or even the fitness guru, because this is kind of like us. So the fitness guru is the armchair expert. That's me. I will sit on the couch while Shawn is in there working out. And I think I'm giving her words of encouragement, like, yep, baby, do that. Get your heart rate up while I'm sitting a beer on top of my belly, right? That's the armchair. And those are things that other females, as we started sharing some of the stories, are like, yes, that's us. Or, I don't get it. And then they would start sharing their stories. Yeah. And we took their stories and like, yes, let's add that to the book as inspiration. Let's add that book, to the inspiration. So even when you look through the book, you'll see we have a page of acknowledgments. Yeah. In the acknowledgement section, those are people that we talked to, that we were blessed enough that they shared their stories. And we kind of made their stories into our story because we felt that their story was so much more relatable. So within the 21 laws, it's a combination of our experiences and other experiences, because the hope is this: if someone flips through the table of contents, usually it's the wives, because we also realize guys don't read books, right? So the wife sees the book, she says, what is this? Let me flip through this and see what they have to say. Oh, you know what? The snoring conductor. That's my husband. He's snoring. Let me see what this chapter is about. Now, my side of the chapter is, hey, listen, I'm snoring out of love. I want you to know that I'm here. I'm creating this lullaby for you. It's hard to do. And then Shawn's like, yeah, right. But it's those types of scenarios that if just one chapter resonates, and it allows a husband and wife to start and open the dialogue off of that one chapter. And if they sit the book down and never read anything else, but if they start opening up other areas that are within their life, man, how incredible is that? That is a solid win in our eyes.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you to both of you. It's like Shawn wanted to say something. So Shawn, go ahead if you want to add something to that.
I was thinking, and sometimes we found that sometimes it may not have been the male in one situation. It might have been flipped. It might have been reversed. So, for example, like the let's say the one chapter, like the birthday reminder or the illusion of choice. We've seen that one has resonated, but maybe it's not the female who is the one who is my role. And maybe it is the guy. We've seen that where they're like, wait, that's you. Yeah. Wait a minute, that is you. That's exactly what he does. And so we've seen that, like you said, it opens up conversation, not necessarily because this is just the male this way and that's the female this way. We've seen that sometimes it's been the female one way, and then the male has been that supporter or the one that says, okay, dear, But at the end of the day, It's the partnership.
It's the partnership. It's really what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about loving, right? It's about loving each other and having fun with each other.
Thank you so much for that. Now, I'm sort of trying to understand if somebody were to say, what is the key message of this book? Because, like I said, okay, the beginning is really very enticing, that people, when you read the title, people get their own message before they're going to read the book. And of course, when they get into the book, they will probably see something different and because you have the message buried in it. So the question, therefore, is, what is the central message that you want to communicate by writing this book?
If you're okay with it, because within the book, the last page in the book is something that's a note from Shawn and Stormie, which really answers that. If you're okay with it, I would love to read to you a note from Shawn and Stormie, because this is really what the book's about. Are you?
Please go ahead. Yeah, we're here for you.
Shawn wants to say something first.
Okay,
please consider this, as you just said it from the start. It's like, what? And there is an idiom that says, and it's a reminder of this idiom that says, don't judge a book by its cover. And we see that throughout all of our society. Is the first thing someone does is they take either offense or they go into defense just at first glance. And so from us, even symbolically, just us and our relationship, even like, with our names, Shawn and Stormie, some people are just quickly, we love it. They expect Stormie as a male and Shawn as a guy. But from the very beginning, I believe the message begins. It's don't judge a book by its cover. You go ahead and dive in, get to know more. So, and then we have.
Yeah, and so here's the note to the readers. And it says, "Dear readers, as you turned the pages of the 21 laws to keep your woman in check, we hope you joined us in the spirit of fun and games with which it was written. This book was our playful take on the stereotype of the alpha male and the lighthearted exploration of the dynamics that makes relationships both challenging and joyful. Now, while Stormie embodied the exaggerated confidence of an alpha in these pages, and Shawn provided the witty and grounding rebuttals, our journey together has taught us that true greatness in life is achieved through partnership. The strength of a relationship lies not in one person leading and the other following, but both partners contributing their unique strengths, perspectives, and humor. This book was a testament to the dance of partnership, where each person brought their individuality to create something richer and more meaningful. It's a celebration of love, laughter, and the sometimes humorous realities of being in a committed relationship. We hope that as you read, you found moments that made you smile, nod in recognition, or even laugh out loud. More than anything, we hope it reminded you that at the heart of every great relationship is not dominance or submission, but partnership, understanding, and a good dose of humor."
That's beautiful.
That's really what the book's about. And we intentionally made that the last page in the book. We didn't start it at the beginning. We started the book out with controversy with the title, and it allows people to go exactly what Shawn says, don't judge a book by its cover. And here's the cool thing, or the interesting thing. We've had some people judge the book by its cover, like, "Oh, how dare you?" And they're upset. And they're like, "How could you write this? You're whatever they want to say." Like, well, you haven't read the book. You haven't read it, because the message is so much more than that. And it lets us know, because if you read that book, you wouldn't have that visceral response. You would say, I get it. It has nothing to do with, as a matter of fact, even the chess pieces, the symbolism of the chess pieces on the front of the book, for those that play chess. Think about the king, how it moves along the chessboard. It's very linear in regards to its movement, right? Versus the queen is all over the chessboard. Probably it works that way in life. Men are very linear in regards to what we do, while the queen's all over the board. She has a better understanding in regards to what's happening. So how possibly could a guy, keep a woman in check? It just doesn't happen. And our first clue are the chess pieces on the cover, because the most capable chess piece on the board in reality is the queen.
I appreciate that. No, I'm just trying to pull the book out so at least people can see. Yeah, and remove that. Yeah, this is important. They can see the cover. They can also see that they can. It's available on Amazon for them to pick up and read. Yeah, of course that is why we are here. It is an important conversation, but there is no way you can get the message without reading it. That is the point. Of course, that is why we have both of you here as author, helping us to understand the importance of this book, the message that is buried in the book. And talking of buried, of course, that will automatically take us to what we live and die by here, which is storytelling. Now, there are already a lot of messages that are hidden here. So, why did you apply this as a strategy? Instead of just putting the story out there, you actually put the story hidden in it because people are not going to understand this book by just the title. Instead, the title actually is working a kind of in a reverse way, no? So help me understand that part, the strategy that you employ in bringing your message out to the people.
You want to take that, or you want me to take it?
I could start. I mean, you have such a great icing on every cake. But well, first of all, this is what Stormie does. Stormie is a strategist, and so this is what he does. And together, this is what we do for our clients and for people that we work with. So again, this gave us an opportunity to do what we do for other people, and that is creating the not just the right messaging, but creating the most attractive and relatable and engaging content.
Yeah,
so that part was easy. But...
And guess what? We could have made the title of this book like every other title on the planet. Hey, how to have a good relationship. Hey, laugh and humor. Blah 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 blah. Well, there's enough of those that are out there, right? So we both come from the world of marketing. And, there's an adage out there that says, say something good about me, say something bad about me, just say something about me. Yeah. And with the title of this book, it allows people to say something about us. And that was the route that we went to go, but not just about us. It also allows them to say something about themselves, right? When it comes to this, let me pick this up and see what this fool has to say. Because whoever would write a book like this must be, until they pick it up. And they're like, oh, okay, I totally get it. Even as we were writing the book, I have to share this with you, which is incredible. As I was writing my chapters, I had to put myself in character. And it's this character of like, who is this alpha, right? Because I had to take these exaggerated stereotypes, some of which I have, right? But let me exaggerate them.
Some he didn't know he had.
Some I didn't know I had, right? But let's exaggerate them to throw them into the book. So as we dive into it, and as we've had the opportunity to do book readings, and if you want, we can read an introduction or a chapter. I go into a completely different character. I go into this character who I believe is this alpha that's in my head. So my dialect, my voice tone, my inflection changes to who this person is. So this way it epitomizes, that part of the story. And we believe that there are elements and truths that are here. And the reason some of the best comedians on the planet are the best comedians because they bring those truths to light, right? They just bring them to light. And our goal here was to bring some of those truths to light, but something that's just much more important. When you're in a committed relationship, man, humor is an incredible is an incredible medication. It's an incredible vitamin. Think about children. When children are young, they're laughing, they're playing, they're joyful. What happens in life that gets us to stop doing it? Well, it's life. But if there's anyone that most couples want to laugh with, that's their significant other. So this was our opportunity to bring joy and laughter to others. Yeah. And this was our stab at it.
And you know what, Obehi, I'm going to say, you hit on something, Stormie. Stormie goes into a role when we do, and I was, by design to go into this role. And that's something that we do from childhood to adulthood. We stop playing and we stop enjoying, and we do kind of go into roles that we think we need to go into. And this is the interesting part about when Stormie does transform into this alpha role. It's like, this is sometimes what people think that they need to do instead of just It's having fun.
Yeah, I think your audience will probably enjoy, even if we just took the introduction, where I'll do a reading, if you're cool with it, or a chapter, or an introduction, whatever you want. If you'd like, we can definitely do a reading where I'll go into that character where they're like, man, that guy, he's off the charts, crazy. But
that would be lovely. That would be lovely. You would pick any part of the book that you want to read, each of you.
How about mastering selective hearing?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Pick it and go.
Okay.
Pick it and go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So this is Master of Selective Hearing. Let me get into my alpha roll.
Boom,
I'm there. Welcome back, fellow commanders of the household. Today, we delve into a crucial skill that every alpha must master: selective hearing, especially when it pertains to chores. This isn't just about avoiding tasks. It's about strategic allocation of your invaluable attention. Selective hearing is an art form, a delicate balance between hearing and conveniently not hearing. When she mentions chores like doing dishes or vacuuming, that's your cue to activate your selective hearing shield. Suddenly, you're deeply engrossed into something immensely important. Maybe it's the sports highlights, or perhaps that crucial email you just remembered you had to send. Now, it's not that we alphas are opposed to chores. No, we're simply prioritizing. Our ears are finely tuned to pick up on only the most critical information, like the score of the game, or the sound of a steak sizzling on a grill. Vacuuming? That's just white noise, easily filtered out by our advanced alpha auditory systems. But here's the key. Occasionally, you do hear and participate in a chore. This is a strategic move, a demonstration of your benevolence. Wash a dish or two, and you've just entered yourself hours of uninterrupted selective hearing. It's about the economy of effort, minimum input for maximum freedom. And let's address the inevitable. When she catches on to your selective hearing tactics, that's when you deploy the alpha charm. Smile, apologize with that roguish twinkle in your eye, and promise to do better. Then once the coast is clear, it's back to your selective hearing mastery. In the end, remember, fellow alphas, selective hearing just isn't about a way to dodge chores. It's a sophisticated strategy for maintaining your calm, composed alpha persona. After all, why sweat the small stuff when you're busy contemplating the bigger picture?
All right. Now, Shawn, it's your turn.
So Shawn's going to give a reply to that one, I'm sure.
There we go. So I'm gonna give my rebuttal to his selective hearing. And again, in our duet of perspectives, this is what's gonna help. So decoding selective hearing, the alpha's Achilles heel. Ladies, it's time for us to decode one of the greatest mysteries of married life, the infamous selective hearing of our dear alpha husbands. You've just read his take on this sophisticated strategy. Now let's have a chuckle at what's really happening. Selective hearing, or as I like to call it, convenient deafness, is a phenomenon that mysteriously occurs whenever the word chores is mentioned. The way he suddenly becomes engrossed in anything, absolutely anything, is Oscar worthy. The remote suddenly demands his full attention, or that old magazine becomes the most interesting read of his life. But here's where the real fun begins. This tactic of his isn't fooling anyone. We know exactly what's happening, and we play along, sometimes repeating ourselves, sometimes just letting him bask in the illusion of having dodged a chore. However, when it's time to get things done, a little creativity goes a long way. Ever notice how chores get done when they're tied to something he wants? Honey, the game's starting soon, but could you take out the trash first? It's like magic. Suddenly, the selective hearing fades and action ensues. And let's not forget the classic move, turning his selective hearing into a playful game. Oh, I mentioned buying those expensive shoes, and I thought, you weren't unnecessary. You didn't respond. So I guess that means it's okay. Watch how quickly his hearing miraculously recovers. But the piece de resistance, the secret weapon in our arsenal, affection. A little hug, a peck on the cheek, a whispered sweet nothing, and voila, the dishes are done. The laundry is folded, and our alpha is feeling like the hero he believes he is. In the end, ladies, the selective hearing expert isn't a challenge, he's an opportunity for us to showcase our wisdom, our patience, and our ability to get things done with a smile, a strategy, and a loving touch. After all, behind every selectively deaf alpha, there's a woman who knows exactly which buttons to push.
Beautiful. This is one of the best episodes that I've done on this topic. This is beautiful. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. Okay, me as a podcast host, I appreciate it, and I believe that the audience also will appreciate it when they hear your voice. Thank you for this sharing. Storytelling. Tell me, of course, both of you or any of you, what is the role of storytelling in maintaining a relationship? Help me understand that.
Yeah, I guess I'll dive in this. And I think, we think, storytelling, it's important. It's been there since, the way we originally learned before we were reading, before words were put on paper, it started with storytelling. And if we go back to our ancestors, it's the stories that we remember. If we go back to our childhood, whether it's sitting there in the bed and your parents are reading a story to you, or in school, it's the stories that make a lasting impression, because what that goes back into, hopefully within those stories, there are some relatable events. And it's those relatable events that allows that story to either get an imprint in your brain, in your heart, or both. It starts with the story. So stories are a great way to transfer enthusiasm, to transfer a message. It's not about logic, and it's not about just here are the facts. No, put it into a story and you can capture the hearts and minds of so many.
Thank you so much for that. This is a great moment, no? I have a son who is 6, is going to 7 now. He always liked me to tell his story every evening. Now, this is what I found out, no? That my son, I think this is the human being. That he is not interested in whether I have told you this story before. He's not interested in whether we have said this thing 1,000 times. And he's not even interested in how beautiful the story is. He just wants me to tell his story. So yesterday, for example, we did something very interesting, with the introduction of audio version of ChatGPT now, you could really do something fantastic, no? So because I've experimented on it when I was at work, when I came home in the evening, when we wanted to sleep, I just brought out my telephone, and I started to speak to ChatGPT to, of course, tell us a story. My son was actually bamboozled. So he was telling ChatGPT to tell his story. Because I think these things are really powerful. This is how we are wired. This is how we function. So I think if we are able to do this more, it's really going to be very powerful within the relationship and the family. I know that we might not really be very expert in it all the time, but it works. If we can elaborate more on that, it's going to help us to work even more. So I think you really strike the chord there. That is a powerful instrument. Thank you for that sharing. All right, Shawn, what do you have to say about that? Because this is important.
No, it is. It is. And thank you for sharing your story with your son. And so what just hit me is, that's not only form of communication, but that is form of connection. And so many times in communicating, we're either misunderstood or we may misunderstand because we have our stories that are replaying in our head, and we have our again, everything is based on perception. So when you are able to tell the story, like Stormie said, when you're relating, you're pulling someone into your head. You're fully connecting. And every time you tell your son the story, like you said, it doesn't matter how it's told. In his mind, he is feeling the moment. He is evaluating, but also he is feeling something. So it goes back to emotion and connectivity. It's not just words. we so many times just get locked into words, communication, the words we choose, but it's not. It's the emotion that we can share, the feelings that we can share together. So in relationships, 100%, when that type of communication dies, the connectivity can also die, and you can rekindle it with storytelling.
Thank you so much for that. I love that. I love that. Of course, I have a question I'm going to throw to both of you just now. But before I get there, just now I was saying that this is a human thing, but I think this is what really it is, in line with what you are saying, Shawn. In 2015, I wrote a book. By then, I was not talking about storytelling because this is what I talk about every time now, because now I've written a 5-part book series on storytelling. And so I basically talk about it. We have 2 audio rooms on LinkedIn. We basically are talking about storytelling all the time, how to use it in business, how to use it to build community, looking at the African diaspora, for example, and everything about it. Now, but by 2015, I wasn't saying anything about storytelling, even though I am an author. But then I've written a book that I titled Amen the Stream Water. In that book, I actually begin with storytelling. That there was this man, the storyteller in the village, because this is an African village, who was telling the children story every evening. Every evening, the children would gather around him and they would be telling them story. So I said in the book, there is nothing of historical importance that the man by the name of Kopuje hasn't told the children. But yet, every evening, the children run there to listen to story. Which is to say, it's not just the information, it's the enactment, the relationship that we are building. This thing that is deeper than just the words, the sentences and the phonetics and the sound. That is not the thing. It's deeper than that. Story is really powerful. It connects us beyond the regular layer. So I find it really powerful. But where am I going? I'm going to this working together. You and your husband writing a book together. I'm interested in that. Tell me about that process, how it works, even for you, before you can bring it to the people. Help me with that.
Yeah, do you want to take that or you want me to roll with it?
So I can start. You can start.
Yeah, you start, then I'll give my perspective.
I'll start. So one, there was trust. And as Stormie mentioned, he's published other books before and has had projects with him, by himself, but also with collections of people. And Stormie and I had talked about, just again, we started off collaborating in business, and we talked about collaborating on a book, and we did not know what that book was. And actually, I think we were going to lead into a business book. So even for Stormie to have the idea that, let's work on a personal book, I thought that was awesome. And what was even more profound is it became a little bit of therapy, because as Stormie mentioned, he laid out his chapters, and then I needed to come back after he was completed with my rebuttals. So basically, all of the thoughts were, outlined in advance. He wrote all of his chapters, and then I needed to come back. So it was a personal process. It was a soul searching process, because I had to change some of my thought patterns for some of the chapters, because I noticed that those were related directly to us. There were small things that I wasn't finding the humor in, or I couldn't just go, ladies, I had to find that. I had to find it and accept the challenge that makes the balance. So the process was deeper than just working on a project. The process was, I noticed it indirectly made me work on myself and what I was contributing to the book, but also ultimately to our relationship. I don't know if that helps.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. Okay, yes, Stormie is yours.
I guess I'm up now, right? So yeah, for me, it was extremely special. As Shawn mentioned, I've been involved in, and I've written a book, and I've been involved in other books. But anything that I have the ability of doing with my wife, especially that having the ability of creating something special regardless what it is, right? It didn't have to be a book. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
But the fact that we did it together, and believe me, there were some trials. There were some times where we're like, oh, I don't like what you know, as we put the chapters together, there was disagreements, but we were able to come together and like, oh, let's put this together.
Yeah.
And, you know, between our two pair personalities, Shawn is the one that tends to be more straight-laced and stringent, where I'm the one that is a little bit more free-flowing, right? And there were areas where her ability of being straight-laced and stringent was beneficial. There was times where my free-flowing was beneficial. It was that combination. But for me personally, right, having the ability of creating something like this with the person that I love the most is the part that just, it's, I don't know if I even have the vocabulary to throw the words into the feeling that it gives. I just knew that there were things that I wanted to do with an outwardly expression of love. You know, even the title of the book, the fact that we wrote the book together as a husband and a wife with this title should also give another hint. Would an alpha male would an alpha male write the 21 laws to keep his woman in check? Would his woman? No, you know, unless, you know what I mean? So, but for us to create something special that may have the impact on others on this planet, even if it's just one, man, that's awesome. That's way more special than me doing something like that on my own. This is the most special project that I can imagine. And it has been so inspiring that, you know, we've been talking about what are the next gifts that we can bring into the world.
I want to put something in perspective in your head too. So let's just go from concept to development to full completion. We did have to give ourselves a schedule. We did have to have some discipline. Sure. We did have to do that because remember, I just want to walk you through. The concept was the idea before it was a concept began. We got married last year. We produced a major event, engaged with, you know, almost 10,000 people. We had the beginning of this year. We've been in the middle of some business transactions, our clients, our employees, our team, and we do have a good balance of a social life. We have a pretty good time. So we needed to put a schedule together because it was a goal to complete it before our first year anniversary. So we did say every Sunday we would dive deep. And that is part of, that was a part of our process to stick to. And that is part of our relationship process is we agree to commit to certain things. And that's what marriage is about, right? You agree to your vows. And even if there's challenges, you trust that those challenges become strengths. And I know that's what led us to complete the process.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you for that sharing. And I can really see this book being read many, many years from now. You see, one of the things that we also do here in our project is that we are really very intentional about the stories that we are telling. And we do this with the belief that our work is going to outlive us. We are not going to consume everything. We are going to leave whatever we have done as a contribution to humanity. So that many years after we have gone, some people are going to read, they're going to ask, who were these people? I think if we are taking our decision with this consciousness, we are going to be very careful what we say and what we do, because those things are going to be here. It's like we are putting a stain on the universe that those stains are going to be there forever. So this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that somebody is going to read this book that is written by a couple talking about this argument, that you are going through a process, you are healing yourself. Therefore, any person that is reading it is going to be healed too. This is powerful. All right, now I have a question. For both of you. What advice would you give to a couple, perhaps maybe younger ones that are just new, who haven't done anything together? Because I think what you have done is a proof of the validity of the love itself that exists between both of you. I'm not saying that there are no challenges. Every couple have challenges. Like me, for example, I live with my wife and my son here. Sometimes we do have challenges, but that is what gives the flavor to it at the end of the day. But for you to be able to come up with something like this, it is really great. It's worth celebrating. Now, what advice would you give to younger couples so that they can also do like you are doing?
You know what? It's look at the humor in situations and laugh. Think about some of the best times that for a younger couple, right? Especially a younger couple, they're not that far removed from their childhood where they did laugh. And if they didn't laugh, this is their opportunity to begin laughing. What we have found is that, there are times where we've had challenges, but when we can bring laughter back into it, that laughter is therapy that sometimes lasts for minutes, sometimes it lasts for hours, but usually it lasts for days. And then that laughter can lead to other humorous moments where we're laughing again. And I can tell you, my wife is beautiful, but when she has a smile, she's the most beautiful thing on the planet. And that smile comes from these laughter. And if you want to, for the younger couples, when you think like, this has happened, well, you know what? These are the stories that they can ask the generations that have come before. These are the types of stories that people look back on and laugh about years later. There's nothing that says you can't start laughing about it right now.
Thank you for that. Those things are going to remain. I appreciate that.
I would say I would keep the balance. And what does that mean? It's different for every couple. And talk about that from the beginning. Actually write it down. Because when those challenges come, it is good to have a reference point and reminders of awesome stuff and reminders of the challenges that you've overcome. So I think it's important to accept, like you said, we'll all have challenges. I think that's such a misconception with younger couples is that, no, we'll find our life partner and then everything and happily ever after. And they may not know how to deal with challenges. They may not know when to communicate, when not to communicate. And at the end of the day, it's all, you decide that together. Every day is something new. And we forget, you forget how far you've come. You forget the good stuff. You start piling on sometimes and connecting dots with the bad stuff. But what about all the good stuff? So I would say really write down the good stuff, write down the challenges and write it down and then go back and review it. And I think that's such an important lesson.
See, writing down, I told you she's structured.
That's lovely.
One person in the relationship writes it down, and then the other person holds the couple accountable for reviewing it, then there's the partnership.
That's lovely. That's
almost like you said with your son. Your son has you read the stories over and over. There's reinforcement there. And what do? We also have to go back and review things that we've learned in school. We go back and we get reminded for holidays. That's what holidays do. They're reminding us of good times and good feelings. So yeah, don't forget what you overcome.
Absolutely.
That's lovely. I love that. Now, tell me a bit about what the readers are telling you about this book. I know we have touched a bit about that at the beginning, but that is important. Tell me, what are the people feeling?
Even look at one of the reviews.
Yeah, it's
Amazon.
On Amazon. That's
cool.
been the one that's been pretty awesome because a lot of the initial feedback that we got were from our friends and family. And sometimes, when we're speaking to them in person, it's biased because they don't want to say anything. So we were anxious for some of these reviews to come on Amazon because these are the real world. What are they saying? What type of feedback are they giving? Is it in alignment to what our friends and families have been telling us? And the answer to that has been yes. That's the part that it's been pretty consistent. They brought on numerous other reviews. They've stated that the first one or any of the other ones, but that one looks pretty good. We read all the reviews, and this one was a great review.
That's the fun part.
That was the fun part because we read them all because this is what gives us our feedback. And basically, what the feedback has been is that this has been a witty take on relationships, but more importantly, it's been a fun take. It's bringing to light sometimes serious issues in a lighthearted way, where it's opened up dialogues between them and their partner, and that's what we were hoping for, right? And in some cases where we've provided a path forward, where sometimes people didn't realize that there were a path because they didn't even know that there was a humorous path to talk about some of these serious topics.
Yeah.
How huge is that? I can't tell you the smile that it brings to us at night, because let me just tell you, when we go to sleep at night, like, do we have any reviews? Let's read it. Let's see if we impacted someone's life. We wake up in the morning. Look, there's another review. What did they have to say? And it just lets us know that the message is unchecked. So it's the feedback has been exactly what we have hoped for, is that they're finding a fun way to have serious conversations from the perspective of a husband and wife.
Yeah. And they're getting the banter.
And the banter, yes. A lot of people, they get the banter.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard to get other people's banter.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it. They said, hey, I like the banter. Unfortunately, it's not too much.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because that's another thing that I could have the tendency of doing. And that's where Shawn's come in, because I'd want to throw in tons of banter. She's like, no, that's too much. That's too much. Let's bring it back a little bit. And that's the type of balance that's required, because I would have just made a comedy book that wouldn't have necessarily had the value. So sometimes it does require pulling back. So the feedback of people saying that just the right amount of banter, just the amount of wit, but more importantly, the underlying message, that feedback has just been incredible. And it's touched our hearts.
That's lovely. That's really, really lovely. And also the picture there is really gorgeous. You know, you cannot ignore that. That is so gorgeous. The picture that you have there at the cover.
Yeah, I look great in that suit, don't I?
Of course, both of you.
Oh yeah, was she in the picture?
Of course, I'm talking about the picture
that you.
No, both of you are really perfect couple. I love that. I love the energy that is flowing.
It's so good. It really is good. Even with that picture, I'll tell you, that was something that I really wanted to do. Stormie made sure it happened. We were in Greece. I realized I've developed, and I've gotten over it, I think. I developed a fear of heights. And even in that picture, we were very high. Stormie 100% really had my hand. There was a balance, and because otherwise with that dress, I thought I was going to fly over the edge. Because the wind was blowing, I thought I was going to, I was a human parachute.
Oh, these are really lovely. These are also good moments, no? They are good moments, absolutely. All right, now I'd like to ask you something. What about the aspiring author? Because, okay, we did talk about a couple who should maybe work together. Maybe they decide to write a book too. What kind of advice would you give to them? Because, okay, it's not always milk and honey all the time. To write a book, sometimes it can be really challenging. But of course, if you love it, it's not work. It's lovely. I love it myself. So yeah, what is your advice for maybe to young people that want to be beginner writer? Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I would say is and this falls into Shawn's, because this isn't me. This came from her guidance, but it's lay down the ground rules. And when I say lay down the ground rules, right? It's lay down what the commitments are, not just the commitments, but the agreements to those commitments. As she stated, hey, on Sundays, believe me, there were times I'd rather do something else than work on our book. But then her response was, well, why did you agree to it? Okay. And if I got mad, the only person I can get mad at is myself. So it's about getting those agreements. So this way, those micro agreements were absolutely huge. And I can tell you, there were some times that were tough during the book where we had differences as it related to what this artistic piece was going to be, but it turned out to be therapy for us, especially some of the chapters that we wrote where we were able to memorialize some of our life events through the pages of the chapter. So I would say if a couple is thinking about writing a book together, one, it's extremely rewarding, but just like anything else, something that's valuable isn't necessarily easy, and something that's easy isn't necessarily valuable. In this scenario, yes, it does require energy and effort, but I can tell you the more energy and effort you put into it, the more value you will get out of it.
I just want to add one quick thing. A lot of people focus on the results and not the actions with the results. So I would say the first thing is focus on what's your message, like what do you want the reader to get from it, and stay true to what you really feel. That's the only way that you can have the audience feel what you're feeling is if you're honest about your vision and what you're feeling. And I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
Thank you for that. Now, other than writing, do you people do other things? Please share with me.
Oh.
I'm gonna let her take this one away.
Well, yes, we do. So I've had a full service marketing agency. I'm the founder and CEO, and I've been in business and operation for 38 years. We are extremely busy with working to connect companies with strategic capital partners, showcasing them by producing events. So we produce some of the most unique experiences, and we work with global companies. So that is our primary focus and function, and this is what keeps us busy. So as full service, of course, we develop strategies for companies and brands who are ready to scale. And then we also have the team to execute them. And that is with PR and media management. That's with social media strategies and advertising, digital and also traditional. So that is our main focus and function.
And I'm going to bring up something because she's a little modest. I may get the year wrong. She'll correct me. I always get years wrong. But I think it was 2021. She was recognized as Entrepreneur of the Year for the state of Nevada.
Beautiful.
That's a huge honor, right? You've got thousands or millions of people to choose from. And then she's also been recognized by the United States Congress. She's been recognized by the United States Senate for the work she's done. UNLV, which is the university that services Las Vegas within their library, they've done a piece on her that's memorialized on the library. So she is the alpha female. She's a hard charger and go-getter. And sometimes, and we work together. So sometimes it does require, like, okay, she's on the run. Let me step back. I have to step back and let her lead. Sometimes she steps back and let me lead because, how we came together. We both served on a board together at UNLV, and that's how we met. And then over the years, I had my own company, and I would share clients with her company. Her company would share clients with mine. We had complementary services. And then eventually that developed into a friendship. I thought we were friends much longer in the relationship. She says, no, we just knew each other. We certainly weren't friends. So that was news to my ears, right? But when you have someone who's very matter of fact, that just is what it is. And so we do work together. So we work together, we live together, we wrote a book together. And sometimes it's, she says, hey, I got to go out and walk around the neighborhood or go for a drive and vice versa, because we do spend and believe it or not, we sleep together.
and I gotta add something else, because Stormie is a little modest with himself as well. Stormie is world renowned as a strategist, and he created the world's buyer persona system, which is truly recognized as one of the best persona development systems and platforms that there is out there. And he has been responsible for the growth of so many companies in the US and also abroad. And his agency, he grew an agency that was known as the #1 top HubSpot agency in Nevada. And why I was so happy to work with his agency and work with the company is because of the world's Inspired Persona system. That allowed my clients, and I would basically require my clients to go through his system sometimes before working with me, because it allowed them to communicate, tell their story. It allowed them to communicate better to me so that we can execute on all of the full service. So
we would have covered all of this one in the beginning, but because you are two, I didn't want us to do that. Otherwise, I would take the attention away a little bit. Because how we start here, we'll just talk about you, where you're coming from, your history, why you do what you do before we move into what you do. But today, we just jump into that. That is fine. But I really would like to invite you again for the conversation to talk more about what you do. In this case, we might need to concentrate on your business and your services, what you do. If you like to, that we'll really love to do that. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, please tell the people, those that have listened to this point in this episode, they want to get the book. How can they get it?
Probably the easiest place to get it is Amazon. They're
We're on Apple.
We're on Audible. So there's an Audible version if you want to hear me reading it in my voice and Shawn reading it in her voice and her loving voice and my alpha voice. So there's an Audible version, but on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon, look for the 21 Laws to Keep Your Woman in Check. That's the easiest route.
Yeah, there's Kindle. It's paperback, Audible. I think those are the best and easiest ways.
Yeah, sleekbio.com, 21 Laws. That provides a link to all sorts of stuff besides the book. If you're able to pull that up and share it on your screen, you can see that it gives the ability of the audience to not only connect the book, but connect with us on LinkedIn and even more.
That's interesting. If I wanted to say that, how can people connect with you other than the book? But anyway, now that they say that, it makes all this sense. Now, okay, individually, I will start with, you have to say ladies and gentlemen. So the ladies first. So Shawn, what would be your final take here in this conversation?
Well, one, you are amazing and awesome, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm taken away. I'm truly every moment I'm kind of learning. I think that it's important for us to continue to learn. So I've learned through your questions. So thank you for that. And even from our project, I thought of something. I said, wow, in essence, even writing my chapters, it made me laugh at myself. So it keeps going back to what Stormie says and how he is and what he brings is a lot of humor. I was like, wow, yeah, you know what? I've been able to not just find humor in this relationship and even in work. I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm cracking up because I'm laughing at myself. I'm laughing at how serious, I have taken so many things and so you helped bring some of that out. So I thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. All right, Stormie, it's your turn. Please, what was your final take here on the conversation that we have had today?
Well, you know what? During the course of the conversation, I got to go back to yesterday. Yesterday, I woke up and I realized I love this lady more than I loved her the day before. And having this experience of just us having this conversation, the impossible happened again because I love her more at this moment than yesterday. And if that trend continues, man, who knows what's going to happen. But you're a master interviewer.
Yes.
And the questions that you asked were well thought. And it allows us to continue this conversation between the two of us after this recording has ended. And that's powerful because I can tell you when the cameras stop, we're going to have a debrief. And it's just talking about some insights that maybe we picked up from this recording. So thank you. Thank you for bringing, other areas to light. It was a blast.
Thanks to both of you. I appreciate it. It's an honor here. Particularly to have you read that part. That was really very, very interesting. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a blast.
Yes. Thank you.
And we look forward to coming on again and talking about other topics.
Absolutely.
More and your family and seeing you in person.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.